I'm sure many of you will remember the story of Little Red Riding Hood, who went in the woods to visit her little old granny. Woods, indeed, very much like these, in fact.
What the storytellers often forget to tell you is that this fairy tale contains a subliminal message about stakeholders. You see, Little Red Riding Hood was, in fact, an astute businesswoman with interests in the forest industry. On the day of the story, she was traveling to see her grandmother, a supportive stakeholder, who was going to transfer ownership of the property. Ms. Hood was also planning to meet with the woodcutter, a mixed blessing stakeholder, to secure his specialized woodcutting skills. The woodcutter is part of a union, the Marginal stakeholder, who supports the project as long as their members are employed. What Miss Hood did not realize on this fateful day is that her business plans were about to be undermined by the wolf, the non-supportive stakeholder, who is part of an eco-group that is actively lobbying to keep the forest intact. The wolf arrives at the house before Miss Hood and stuffs poor Granny into the cupboard. Donning Granny's garbs, the wolf lays in wait for the unsuspecting Miss Hood. Miss Hood is suspicious and asks lots of questions about the size of the wolf's eyes and ears and teeth, but ultimately it is only due to the fortuitous arrival of the woodcutter that Miss Hood and her granny are saved. The moral to this story is twofold. First of all, be aware of grannies with exceptionally big teeth, and second, when dealing with stakeholders, make sure you know who you are dealing with, friend or foe. When crafting and implementing a business strategy, it is important to consider how your various stakeholders will be impacted by the decisions you make. Traditionally, a premium has been placed on the interest of investors and stockholders as the primary stakeholders. The new mental model expands the concept of stakeholders to include the linkages between a variety of organizations, groups, and individuals that are or will be affected by your strategies and your business performance. These include customers, stockholders, employees, creditors, suppliers, government, and the local community, all as partners in your enterprise. The relationship between your business and its stakeholders is one founded on interdependence. Think of the stakeholder relationship as a food chain. In exchange for the products and/or services, customers provide the organization with revenue. Stockholders buy shares and provide the necessary capital, expecting a reasonable return on their investment. Employees provide the skills and labor and receive income, good working conditions, and job satisfaction. Creditors provide loans and in exchange receive interest on their capital. Governments set rules and regulations and the general business environment with the expectation that companies will contribute to the economy and pay taxes. The local community supplies the business with an infrastructure and an ongoing understanding that the organization is socially responsible. Of course, you too are a stakeholder in your business, and in exchange for your time and your money, you require that the business provide you with an income, a profession, and a creative outlet and other benefits. The challenge with the new mental model is resolving the conflicts that inevitably will arise between the various stakeholders as to whose interests you are going to serve. Conflict resolution demands that you prioritize the stakeholders and ensure that those priorities are consistent with the priorities of the enterprise. Ultimately, you may want to develop strategies that assure the achievement of the business goals while maintaining positive stakeholder relations. Consider the following model as a tool that might assist you in analyzing and critically thinking about your stakeholders. Stakeholders are divided into 4 distinct groups. One group has the potential to cooperate with you and your organizational strategies, while another might be a potential threat because they oppose your goals. A third group is relatively disinterested in your business, and the fourth offers the business mixed blessings. Type 1. The supportive stakeholder. These stakeholders are fully aligned with the organization's goals and objectives. They see the business through your eyes and represent the lowest level of potential threat and the highest level of potential for cooperation, if they are properly and strategically motivated. In this group, we'd expect to find the board of directors, managers, and employees. Ideally, suppliers, service providers, and non-profit community organizations would also be members of this group. The key to maintaining the allegiance of this group is to seek out their involvement in strategic and critical issues. In most firms, senior management serves as a catalyst for this initiative. Participative management techniques can be used to promote input and participation from staff. Stakeholders external to the company, specifically partnerships with suppliers, may also fit into this category. STM. Take a few moments to make a list of your supportive stakeholders. Type 2. The marginal stakeholder. Marginal stakeholders are ambivalent. They are neither highly threatening nor particularly supportive of your business endeavors. The marginal stakeholder generally takes the form of a consumer interest group, lenders, stockholders, and professional organizations. Strategically, you have to monitor the interest of these marginal stakeholders to ensure that they do not detract from your overall goals and objectives. STM. Take a few moments to make a list of your marginal stakeholders. Type 3. The non-supportive stakeholder. Members of this group have the potential to threaten the organization and consistently show a low level of cooperation. This type of stakeholder can include competing organizations, employees' unions, various levels of government, and on occasion, the media. The best short-term strategy when dealing with non-supportive stakeholders is to evaluate the situation and decide which is the most appropriate position to take. For example, should you be defensive, cooperative, or assertive? The long-term strategy is to try to reduce your dependence on these stakeholders while changing their status, that is, converting them to one of the other three groups. STM. Take a few moments and identify your non-supportive stakeholders. Do you have some flexibility in your interface and interdependence with your non-supportive stakeholders? Type 4. The mixed blessing stakeholder. Within any small business, there is the stakeholder who is equally a threat and an ally. The mixed blessing stakeholder might be the employee with scarce skills, the demanding customer, the single-source suppliers, and the organizations that offer complementary products or services. Their allegiance can quickly shift depending on, in part, how you deal with them. The best approach when working with mixed blessing stakeholders is to work collaboratively with them in establishing joint ventures, mergers, and other projects that require your collective skills. You should try to somehow cement their support. Listen now to Laurie Gunderson from Eagle Precision Log Homes.
I went on the Ministry of Forest webpage, and they had mentioned that it was a wood that had less integrity, which was entirely wrong. So I phoned up the person that had written that article for the Ministry of Forest webpage, and he said he was going to change it, and they actually did change it, and they put it a little more positive, upbeat to their webpage concerning the pine beetle. So that was just one little victory for small business.
STM. Take a moment and identify your mixed blessing stakeholders. What challenges are you experiencing when trying to satisfy the mutual interests of stakeholders with the goals and objectives